What's good, guys? It's your boys Trill and Paul.
And we're from Team APS. And we're doing a video swap with X Underground members. X, because there's an X at the end of it too.
How many X's is it?
There's an X at the beginning, and there's an X at the end.
I thought it was two.
It's X Underground members X. Like an Xbox Live gamer tag.
They're like secret porn stars. That's what all those X's are for. Our first best dueling habit is going to be use a calculator.
Yes.
How many times you guys been playing a game and next you know you guys are trying to calculate life points and nobody's written them down, nobody's got a calculator out.
Yes.
And so it gets down to the point of who's lost what because you're about to lose. And it's always the worst time when you know your opponent's about to lose and you didn't take life points, that he's about to argue what he did or did not take.
Yeah.
And you got no record of it. So now it's possible that you're gonna lose the game because he's about to pencil whoop you because you can't prove that he's wrong.
And even if it's not a calculator, just use like a game, a little notepad, something. Because like you don't know how many times. You know the people who are just sort of like, okay, I attack you, you're at 63. I attack you, you're at 48. I attack you, you're at 24. I attack you, that's game. That was like 4 attacks with a freaking like elemental hero like bubble man, and somehow I'm at 0.
Exactly.
And it's just bad. Not to mention, like especially if you're at a tournament, God.
When it counts, you really should be using. I mean, of course, when you play with your friends, you really don't have to care. But when it counts, you should be using some kind of pencil or paper, calculator or something. And then, because at that point, now you're both going to your graveyard. I think you attacked over this with. It pretty much makes you have to use more of your brain than you really need to, especially if it's an intense game.
And especially if you don't have a brain.
And
some
of course,
people don't.
Some people don't have a brain, and people will cheat if they can get away with it. And if a person knows you're not taking life points, even if they know the truth, if they're losing, they're not going to say it.
Yeah, no one, honesty is dead.
Especially in Yu-Gi-Oh!
The number 2 good thing. Look at the game board. Look at the game map. Keep up with what's actually going on.
Right. If you know your opponent just searched out a dark hole with a pot of duality, remember he has that in his hand. Like, I mean, a lot of times we forget what's going on as far as what they've searched, what's in the graveyard, what monster effects can do, and we overextend, we misplay, we just aren't mindful of things that are in front of us that are public knowledge.
And then there's always like those people who like drop gores themselves, and you're like, you have a card set, and they're like, oh. And just sort of like, yeah.
Right. Be mindful of both game sets.
Like, look at the grave. And it's also for like your own sake and like your opponent's sake, because like people miss things, and then like, you know, in tournaments, whenever like you both miss like gold sark and stuff like that, your opponent, don't you both get like punished or something? Like, but you both get a warning.
You can get a warning.
If like things like that, like watch, you know.
And another thing with that as well is if I know my opponent like forgets their gold sark card, I'm not going to tell them. Who tells their opponent, hey, you forgot to add it to your hand? So that's why you should always be mindful of the game state as well, because you don't want to forget something because that could cost you the game.
Number 3, know your own rulings.
Right.
Even if you don't know any other rulings in this game,
know what your deck can do.
Because God knows it's awful.
And that's how you tell a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh frauds as well. If you're playing against your opponent and they're having to pick up their own card and read it before they play it or when they play it, they probably net deck. And we're not saying there's anything wrong with net decking. The only problem is if you don't know what you're doing, you're probably not going to beat me because I know what you're doing and I know what you're capable of. You should know everything that your deck is possibly capable of, so that anytime you're in any situation, you know how to play out it or what to expect or what you can do to get out of that situation.
And it's always really annoying when like someone does stuff wrong and you point it out to them and they're like, oh, I didn't know I could do that, and they sit there and read their own card.
Right.
And it's just sort of like, okay, like
what did you do before this tournament?
It's like yeah, it's like this is your deck, you know that, right? And then you have to like tell them their rulings, and they get mad at you. And they'll get angry at you for like, oh, you know, you're not supposed to like, do. And it's just like, yeah, well, you should have like known that the card did this, and you can't do that. Especially, it's always those little things like you can't attack the turn you use this effect. You can only use this once per turn. You know, if you do, this card, you know, can't use its other effect this turn. You can only, you know. And like people do that, and it gets annoying. And also, it like
it's kind of unfair. I mean, it seems like you should know what you're doing when I'm playing against you. Like, I mean, and if you don't, like, yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh! 1-on-1 all of a sudden in the middle of a tournament. So you owe me something.
I should have really remembered these, huh? I'm just pulling out my phone. Number 4, learn how to lose, because some people can't. Some people do not date kindly. Let's use aliases for people that we know. I know a guy named...
He knows a guy.
G, and when he loses, he makes lots of mistakes. Or well, you know, he forgot this. He meant to do it, but he just did it incorrectly. And if he'd done it differently, he would have won. But he just did it incorrectly because he didn't know. He didn't notice that I had that 1 card set. Or he didn't know that my monster did this. Oh, I forgot Soul Charge. If I'd have remembered Soul Charge didn't let me attack, I would have done it differently. Then I would have beaten you for sure. Mm-hmm.
So we still use the aliases?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I know a guy named Daquan. Alright. You like Daquan? Okay. I know a guy named Daquan. And anytime he loses, he's a guy that has no sportsmanship. He's flustered, he's cursing out his opponent, he's throwing his cards. And the thing is Yu-Gi-Oh! It's a card game, and half the time it's a game of chance. So you're gonna lose at some point. If you've never lost a duel, either you've never played anybody or you're a cheater. And also,
yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
I mean, it's true. If you've never lost, I mean, I feel like I'm a decent player, but I lose sometimes.
If you've never lost, you stack.
If you never lost, you are the best cheater, and I'm
Stack.
not against you. Just don't play me because I'm not gonna like you.
Hack.
But you say you can hack.
You hack.
Fucking hack. That's awesome.
No, but
yeah.
for real, some people get so mad when they lose, and it's just sort of like it's Yu-Gi-Oh! And then they play the if game. The if game is
If
the
I had
worst.
drawn that next card, or if I had done this differently,
Yeah, if you'd done that,
no
just
one
like,
cares
yeah, no
because
one
you
cares.
didn't.
You lost.
You know,
So, sorry.
and also
You got lucky.
you're so focused on the fact that you lost that you didn't learn anything from the situation, from the duel that you played. You could have learned a better play.
Because
You could've learned a
believe it or
different
not,
out.
there are things to learn when you lose. Like, you know, a lot of times you can like track a point where you made a mistake,
Right.
I think.
For the future, where you
But
do
some
something
people
different.
just get so defensive over the whole like, oh, I didn't, you know, if I
Right.
had gotten this, or you only won because you got this.
So
and
the
sort of
only
thing,
focal
you know,
point is that they lost. And
Yeah.
some people, the lesson in the game that you learn is that you suck. It's true.
Yeah, some people learn the hard way.
Just learn that you suck.
And number 5.
The fifth and final best dueling. What is it? What is that? Best dueling what? Oh yeah, best dueling habits.
Good habits.
Yeah, whatever.
Good Yu-Gi-Oh!
The fifth and final is to communicate with your opponent. How many times you guys sat down with an opponent, you guys are shuffling your deck, they don't make eye contact with you, they're just shuffling all quietly, they put it on the side, they never look at you, they just wait for you to finish. And the next thing you know, it's time for you guys to cut. They go first, and they're like, Scorn, Graph, Special, Dante, Mill 3, Graph Effect, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, sitting there with your fucking finger up like, hey, I had a response where you're going to let me make a play. Like, it's really good to communicate with your opponent because, I mean, I know a lot of you guys play Dual Network. And how many times have you played Dual Network with somebody and you made a really good play, then all of a sudden they type in, oh man, misclick or lag or some other bullshit like that, which we all know is not the truth, but they're getting their ass whooped, so they got to find some way to get an advantage out of
And
it.
they're like always wearing something like this.
And they're always wearing that and
Always.
some Ray-Bans, the little
They're
mirrored
always
Ray-Bans.
like sometimes it's the hoodie with the cap underneath, but other times it's just like yeah, man.
And besides, nobody wants to duel an asshole. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I'm an asshole by nature, but I have fun with my opponents. No one's ever played me and said that they had a bad time because even if I'm losing, we're having a really good ass time because I communicate with them. Make sure you give your opponent a chance to respond. You know, let your opponent know what you're doing so that they can keep up the game state just as well as you. There's no reason for you to be speed dueling because you don't get extra points for winning fast, you know? So
And not to mention, like, Yu-Gi-Oh's a social game,
Should
believe
be.
it or not. I mean, like, you are supposed to actually I wouldn't say, like, making friends, but I mean, you know, meeting people through this, right?
it's
Like,
probably friendly competition. So
like, yeah, I mean, you
Cordial.
still have to talk to people. And, like, you know, the people who don't ever offer, like, handshakes.
yeah, at the end of the game or at the beginning.
Or no such greeting whenever, like, you know, the match starts, like, the round starts, and, like, okay, you're playing at table 37, and they just, like, get there and sit down, and, like, they just don't even look at you, and they don't, like, no sort of greeting. I mean, I know you don't have to, like, you know,
You gotta kiss their ass, you gotta be extra
make,
friendly.
like, a
you know.
huge conversation out of it. But, I mean, you know, just a simple, like, you know, how are you doing? Small talk. It doesn't really mean anything. But, I mean, come on, like, talk to
Just
people.
communicate. It makes the game go by a lot easier.
Yeah, we're already, like, considered introverts if we play this game to begin
Pretty
with,
much,
so
Yu-Gi-Oh already has a bad name, especially
Prove 'em wrong.
for grown men. Let's be honest.
prove them wrong.
That you're in a room full of smelly guys, and of course 9 times out of 10 it's a room full of guys, and they all smell. And so, why not at least try to make the best of your day by at least making one friend?
He's not wrong.
So yeah,
Those are 5 good Yu-Gi-Oh! Dueling habits. If you want to see 5 not so good Yu-Gi-Oh! Dueling habits, check out Spidey and Kisame's video on her channel.
on our channel.
Team APS, which you can subscribe to in the, I'm assuming they'll put a link in the description down there.
Somewhere.
Hoping. They'll put it there. Anyways, thanks again to X Underground Members X.
Alright, thank you guys for letting us put a video on your channel.
And
Y'all come see us. We have a lot of fun. Shit
Yeah.
gets weird.
things get a little crazy.
He gets tased. Shit happens.
Not yet, at least. And also, if you're subscribed to like Underground's channel, it's also really cool. Both these channels are great channels, and that's good.
Right.
Your phone's ringing.
I think my girlfriend's calling. And yes, Yu-Gi-Oh players can have girlfriends.
That's a good time to cut this off, isn't it?
It is.
Okay. Subscribe.
Subscribe.